Welcome to Theory of Conspiracy. Don't adjust your headset, you are listening to three northern lads from the UK talking about their own beliefs whilst challenging each other's.
Hi TheoCons, I need to make this short and sweet as we take care of some of the usual admin chat in the main discussion. Saying that, if you do want to get involved in a conversation regarding our next episode, we'll be recording again on the 6th of May. Or if you want to send any comment or feedback about any of the previous episodes, please reach out via social media, which is at TheoConPod. That's at TheoConPod. That's on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. If you'd like to support the podcast, please give us a review or a rating on the podcast provider that you use. And if you can't do that, come and say hi on social media. Oh, by the way, there is a bit of an error in the podcast because I obviously can't keep count whilst I'm reading notes and talking at the same time. I do a bit of a quiz about 10 minutes into the chat, and the final score was a draw, with both the lads getting 3 out of a maximum possible score of 8. But don't tell Carlos, he thinks he won. Okay, let's crack on with the main show. Enjoy! Okay, welcome to episode 7. We're going to be talking about the Mandela effect, but we're just going to get some admin out of the way. So today is the 22nd of April. Our next recording will be Wednesday the 6th of May, and we're going to be talking about psychedelics. And we're going to be talking about mushrooms.
Consciousness, altered states of, there's a few more than 2. Carlos wants to bring in MK Ultra. Yeah, a few psychopaths to boot.
So, before we get into the main body of the podcast, just going to mention, so we've had a review on Apple from Hey84, who gave us a 5-star rating, and they said, the Scottish one sounds sexy.
Really? Oh no. I can't say I've ever thought that.
Don't worry, Nick, because I had a text, and apparently it was my brother that said that.
That's very kind of him. Well, he knows me. He'd be right in that case then. So he's got an excuse for thinking that.
Exactly. We've not had any audio submissions, so I think people are still a little bit too shy, or we're not getting far enough out there for the crazies to start sending us any audio submissions. If you are crazy, a bit like Carlos, then get on our Facebook and send us a message. It can be a video, and I'll cut the audio out of the video and I'll play your question, comment, feedback, whatever it is you want to say. We'll play it on the podcast and you can hear myself, Carlos or Nick respond to it, especially if it's directed at one of the three of us. On social media, not much to write home about on Twitter or Instagram, probably because Carlos is just constantly bombarding you with stuff you can't get a word in edgeways. But on Facebook, I shared a graph a few days after episode 6, which was Corona Part 2, and we discussed, or rather Carlos proposed, how the average weekly death rate wasn't spiking due to the epidemic, and we sort of said that's because it's a bit too early, the stats aren't out. So I shared a graph that did come out a few days later, showing a peak. I think it was a 75% peak on the average of the same week for the previous 10 years. And Eon on Facebook says he agrees that the numbers are higher, but they're still contributing more deaths to corona than there should be. Carlos, given what I've just said, and that you were agreeing with the likes of David Icke on that subject about the deaths, are you still convinced there's no more extra deaths contributable to corona and it's normal deaths, or after seeing those figures do you think, oh, actually David Icke, maybe he's talking bullshit there?
No, I still think some of the figures are being manipulated. So I'll talk about things like Germany. Germany usually words things like died of COVID-19. United Kingdom uses things like died after testing positive for COVID-19. So I still think some of the figures are manipulated.
But the overall deaths have almost doubled in that first week.
I think it's way more than that as well. I seen a good graph yesterday on the news, and it showed the average over the last, I don't know, let's say 50 years, the average death by month, and had all these different years, plots, dots on it. And they showed a couple of spikes recently where in 2012 we'd had roughly about 16,000 deaths then from a really bad strain of flu that flew it through. And then again before that, in about 1970 or something, was another year where the number was similar, maybe even a little higher than it was now, like 17. Well, like it was then. I think the number's to 18,000 odd now, but I think it was comparable to that. That was a good graph to show that, but we're only just there. These numbers of deaths are still going to keep climbing in respect to that. Those peaked. That was a peak. Those numbers. We're only in the first 5-6 weeks of this outbreak of flu.
If you think about a peak, Nick, so it's like a mountain you've climbed up and you've got to climb down the other side. So if we have reached a peak, which is what the guy on the government guy said on the TV last night, if we have reached a peak and it's taken 16,000 deaths to get here, then there's the same amount of deaths on the climb down the mountain on the other side. There's going to be another 16,000 deaths
and more.
For me, that spike shows that David Icke was telling rubbish, regardless of what you class those deaths as.
Yeah, that correlation is rubbish.
There has been a spike in deaths,
and also different countries categorize deaths differently. There's a legal structure, the kind of words they've got to use on a death certificate on stuff like I would talk about things like this. And here in the UK, it is. So it's not to say they died of COVID-19, because some of these people might have died of heart attacks brought on by COVID-19. Some might have died by strokes covered by COVID-19. They're all in the age categories where they'll be getting, or not all, obviously, a lot of them, a good percentage of them are in the age categories, and they have underlying health issues. So COVID-19 is triggering, or in some cases, causing these underlying health issues to be the cause of death. So in Germany, they're saying COVID-19 is what killed them. It made them have a heart attack and it killed them. Over here, we'd record that as a heart attack was the cause of death after testing positive for COVID-19. It's semantics, I think, at the end of the day, and these kind of conspiracy theorists are jumping on it and playing on it like it's something that should be, paid some heed to. I think if you apply some common sense to it, it's it's just semantics, and people are trying to build a case around it, and it's not the case.
Yeah, it's easy for him to make statements like that when the numbers are low and you can't see an effect, but it's all you can see 2 weeks later it's all complete bullshit. So shut up, Ike. Right, okay, getting back onto topic of the Mandela effect, we also put a couple of posts out regarding Mandela effect on Facebook, and we got a couple of comments that are worth mentioning. Mindy and Eon, they're both from America, different parts of America. They were started chatting about different Mandela effects that they remembered, and then they both recalled some missing time events, which was quite interesting.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your contribution. It's nice that you're having a chat out there. I like it. I like to hear it.
I thought the missing time was interesting, so that was quite good. Yeah. So I think they need to go and talk to
so
the
have
hypnotist.
They laid out specifics about the case they were discussing?
Yeah. You
okay.
have to.
Is it something you're going to bring up later in the conversation?
No. People, if you want to know, you have to join Facebook and go on it. But for you, Nick, I'll tell you what it was about, and
I'll screenshot it for you, Nick.
Yeah, I will not be having that CIA tool that you call Facebook on my phone.
Also, Danny, this might have been the same post, but it was shared to another conspiracy group. But Danny recalls the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air intro being much shorter than it actually was. He was quite surprised how long the full song was. And we also had someone called Naya. She says, the Mandela effect. What else? Trump is a reptilian, and so are all world leaders. Give me a break.
That's a David Icke quote, that.
Right, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it really?
The leading classes, the elite classes are reptilian, that scenario.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, cool. Brilliant. I knew David Icke was of that tree, but I didn't know if it was a direct quote from something he said. So.
Well, I don't know. What did she say again? If she was quoting, she might have just been paraphrasing.
The Mandela effect. What else? Trump is a reptilian, and so are all world leaders. Give me a break.
Yeah, she's paraphrasing David Icke.
Would he say "give me a break" at the end?
Yeah.
I think she's applying that to this.
Well,
Bigger fish to fry, maybe.
Maybe that's David Icke's pseudonym anyway on Facebook, one of his many accounts.
Yeah, I could be interested in what you're saying
So,
about him.
Just to add
Yeah.
to that, I was just speaking to someone because someone just said, rang me up the other day, says, "What's your next episode going to be in the podcast?" I said, "The Mandela Effect." He corrected me and says, "Are you sure it's not called the Mengele Effect?" I went, "What?" He says, because he said he remembers it's being called the Mengele Effect because he remembers
Of Stephen
Joseph
Mengele?
Mengele being Joseph
Joseph
Mengele, the
Mengele.
Nazi, who got
Right.
apprehended in 1970. So that's why they called it the Mengele Effect. He was convinced it was called the Mengele, not the Mandela Effect. That's interesting in itself.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, never heard of that, mate. Never heard of it. So
It rings
that
a bell,
blows.
but it might just be the name that's ringing a bell, obviously. But
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah,
know.
he said to me, "He's sure it's not called the Mengele?" He says, "No, it's Nelson Mandela." Then Mandela goes, "No, it's Mengele." We had literally a half an hour debate. He said he was convinced he was right. That's interesting. It's interesting in itself.
It's interesting. Maybe in his alternate reality, it was called the Mengele effect, but in this one, and he's a friend of yours, if he even exists. Yeah,
It might be them thinking of
could
my
just all be in your
imagination.
mind. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Anyway, the Mandela effect. It's also called collective false memories, but it was named Mandela effect by a paranormal consultant, apparently a self-titled paranormal consultant called Fiona Broom, after she discovered that other people shared a false memory of the South African civil rights leader Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, when in fact, as we all know, he came out of prison, became Prime Minister of South Africa, and died in his 90s a few years ago.
2013, he died.
2013, there you go. So I've got some examples suitable for the podcast. A lot of examples you find on the internet are sort of pictures and logos and things of how people remember logos
things.
differently. Yeah, remember logos. So I've got a little test for you too. So I'm going to read these things out, and you've got to tell me which one is the right one.
Okay, I like this.
Okay, ready? Number one, Luke, I am your father, or no, I am your father.
Everybody leaves it's the first one in it, but it's going to be the second one.
I would say the first one. I said the first one. Luke, I am your father.
All right. Nick's right. It's the second one. It's one of those beam me up Scotty moments where the words beam me up Scotty were never actually mentioned in Star Trek. The next one is a title of a show. Never watched it personally, but was it called Sex and the City or Sex in the City?
It's Sex and the City.
Carlos is wrong again. That's 2 for 2.
Is
What
it?
do you think it is?
Sex
You
in
think
the
it's
City.
Sex? It was Sex and the City.
Sex in the City.
Hey! See?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
So it's yeah. So
I
one
was
nil
right then.
each.
Ah!
I was right.
So what? Sorry, one each. One each. Okay. Was it the Flintstones or the Flintstones?
Oh, I'd say Flint with the FT.
Oh, I see what you mean, right? Yeah, with 2 T's.
You going for two T's, Carlos? You're going for
No, I'm saying that I wonder what you were saying. So you're saying has it got 2 T's or 1 T? I'm going 1 T. Flintstones.
the
Meet
Flintstones,
Yeah.
not the Flintstones.
No.
I'd say the
All right, go on.
Flintstones.
Okay, Nick's wrong. Carlos is right. Flintstones.
I'm shit at this game.
It's all right. It's 2 to Carlos, 1 to you. So I'm going to tell you the name of a colour. I want you to tell me what colour it is. Chartreuse. What colour is chartreuse?
Chartreuse. I'd say chartreuse. Purple.
Ooh, interesting. Go on, Nick.
Green.
Excellent. Yeah, it's green.
Mm.
So
Why,
a
what?
lot of people think it's either green or pinky purple.
Really?
But yeah, chartreuse is the reason I remember that as
Chartreuse.
being green. Yeah, is because there was a drink in a nightclub when I was about 16, 17. Show called chartreuse, and it was a green drink, and you used to set it on fire and then down it in one.
I was convinced it was purple.
So
Appealing.
yeah, a lot of people think it's pink or purple. So it's 2-2 now. Okay, next quote from a film. Life is like a box of chocolates. Or Life was like a box of chocolates.
Life was like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're gonna get. Something
I'm
like
gonna
that.
go. I'm gonna go for the first one. The way first one you said it. I think it's gonna be wrong, but I think the first one. That's what I remember as that. The way the first one.
Is it? Okay, and it's the second one. So 3 to Nick, 2 to Carlos.
Fucking hell.
Another quote. Disney this time, so it's up your street, Carlos. You'll know this.
Where are you getting these from?
These?
Yeah.
They're on the
Quiz
internet.
on the Mandela effect.
These are Mandela effect when you research them. So, mirror, mirror on the wall, or magic mirror on the wall.
I remember it as the first one. Mirror, mirror.
Yeah, I remember mirror, mirror on the wall.
It's magic mirror on the wall. There you go. You've both been Mandela.
So
on
is this
that.
in the? It's just like I guess it's in the Disney cartoon. Maybe I'm thinking of the book or something. But
Yeah, no, yeah. It's the cartoon. It's the So it's still 3-2 to Carlos. The
No, to
next
Nick.
one, another quote.
Nick's
No,
winning.
you got 3 right. You got
Okay.
3,
Okay.
and Nick got 2. So then another film quote. Hello, Clarice. Or
Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
exactly. Or did he say, "Good morning"?
It's actually. Do you know what? I actually know about this. It's the second one. It's the second one.
Good morning, Khalees. Good morning.
Yes.
I think
No, he just says. He just says.
Good morning.
When she first walks in to the prison and she meets him, everyone thinks he says, "Oh, hello, Clarice." He doesn't. Apparently, he doesn't say that in the film. He just says, "Good morning."
Okay.
Yep. It's the second one. That's
I
what
think,
it's.
does
The
that not
second one.
hello,
you think-
Khalees? Does that not come from when he phoned her? Does he not when he?
Possibly.
Was that the first one?
Possibly.
I can't.
Yeah,
I've got a memory
I
of
don't
saying
know.
hello, Clarice, or something like that.
Yeah,
Slimy.
but Carlos, another one for you anyway. So 4-2. Next one. I don't know how to do this. Maybe I'll sing it and you guys have to finish the song. But it's Queen. We are the champions. We are the champions.
Of the world.
Nobody. I don't know. Yeah, off the world. Yeah, I'll go with that. What Carlos said. He's a bigger pop fan than me.
Both of you are wrong. It's just we are the champions one more time. There's no of the world at the end. But whenever that song is played, people always sing of the world.
Why though? Why?
Think-
Have we all been Mandela'd?
Yeah, possibly. Possibly. Cool. All right. So that was a little bit of fun. Hopefully, a little bit interesting. I don't know if anyone played along at home, but let us know how you scored on that. So Carlos was the winner anyway, just about. But I think we're really all losers. Anyway, back to Fiona Broom. She refers to these false memories as a glitch in the Matrix.
I like that. Anything that's
or
a glitch in the Matrix, I like that.
Yeah, the many world or multiverse interpretation. It comes back to quantum mechanics, I think.
You know what? How I feel. I was thinking about the multi thing the other day. There, I don't know why, but the multiverse. It's probably in thinking about this. So the people do link it, like obviously the effects of the different people having a shared experience is different to the actual event that went on in history. If people were to be in a different version of a universe, I think different versions of a universe would be quite different to this one. I don't think you could easily slip between them and not know, not be aware, and for them not to be entirely different. Because, as so eloquently put by Homer, somebody stood. I watched an episode where he stood on a mosquito one time, and then the next time he came forward in time, it was raining donuts. Obviously, too much for anybody. But
when you said Homer, I thought you meant the famous philosopher,
No,
not Homer Simpson.
I mean that popular legend of culture, popular culture.
The other famous philosopher, Homer Simpson. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. When he stood on a mosquito, they changed the world immensely, and that must be true. They've predicted so much of that's actually gone on in the world. I give them some credit in that respect.
That's a play on butterfly effect, isn't it? So it's the same principle.
Of course, yeah. So that's what I mean. That's how I feel about the multiverse thing, and thinking thinking these thoughts, these shared memories that are false, can be linked to those people experiencing that memory in another multiverse. I don't agree with that, because I feel
Yeah, you think
it'd be too
one
different.
small change,
Yeah.
would make the
Yeah.
differences. Yeah, you're
Yeah, because
right.
you got to imagine.
Yeah,
I like in this one, when you think of the odds, and they say, if you think about it, the millions of things that have had to go right for your history, for your direct lineage, for you to be here, for your ancestors to dodge a bullet, dodge a draft, dodge a flu, dodge murder, dodge this, dodge that, for each one of your mums and their mums before it to be here today, the chances of that is billions to one. So can you imagine the chances of that being the same in another universe that you wouldn't be aware? Nah, I'm not buying that. So this is why I feel the Mandela effect. Well, I'll give my conclusion at the end, but multiverse is a stretch for me in real terms. While I'll admit they do exist, or potentially do exist and can exist. I don't think that there's anybody drifting between them that's unaware that they're drifting between them, because I'd like to think that they are quite different, every one of them.
So to add to that, Nick, you're talking about going in between parallel universes, because obviously, if we say there's a parallel universe, but there's this infinite amount of universes, and if there's an infinite amount of universes, there's an infinite amount of planets that look like Earth. That means there's an
Yeah, but why
infinite
would you
amount of
only
you.
why
No, but
why
that's
would the
because then
shared
it's if
memories that you have only be of a similar experience to the one that
because
you're having, that's
there's
so close
infinite
that,
amounts.
that just that point is bleeding across?
There's an infinite amount of you, infinite. So
Yeah, but why aren't you
your
thinking of any
consciousness.
of the other ones then? So do you think while there's like say there's a 100,000 people that have the one memory about Mandela dying, there's another 100,000 people that have another memory about dying another day, or something else specific in time that did or didn't happen. So why would your shared memory always be that same one?
It doesn't, because you might be there's things that happen to people and they go, "What the fuck happened there?" And it's like, because I've spoken to a couple of people and they talk about, especially when they've done say acid or psychedelic drugs, they've said they've gone into other dimensions and they've met themselves. Clearly, they're under the influence, but they've met themselves and they've given themselves advice. So obviously, I'm not saying that's the Mandela effect, but it's a parallel universe. So it could be infinite amount of universes, infinite amount of you out there. So yeah, there could be another Nick who never met Carlos or Andy. There could be a Nick who never met XYZ, and you could be a different role path. But there'll be a Nick who did meet you and did meet me.
what Nick's saying is that Nick that never met us, or never did this podcast, or really love this podcast, whatever. There's a Nick out there that listens to the podcast after he's recorded it. But up to a certain point, that had to be an identical Nick up to a certain point where there was a decision. You know,
No, but it
you,
doesn't have
you
to be though, because the key to Mandela effect is you go into there and then you sometimes forget what you. It's like your it's been erased. So it's like you can go into, for example, you go into one say parallel universe, you come back and then things are erased and you go back to your own consciousness. I'm only just replicating what people have said and what I've spoken to different people.
yeah. I understand the vastness of the term infinite, because as the amount, the worlds that have got an infinite amount of Nick, there's also worlds with an infinite amount of no Nick, and it's infinite's a crazy number to get behind. But if there is a very close universe to us, and the only difference is Mandela died in prison in the 80s, and then ours where he didn't, the impact of him dying in prison in this parallel universe that's really close to us and it's bled through to ours, he went on to be an extremely important person and made a lot of global changes because of his actions.
Correct.
And all that would happen in that other universe. Therefore, if you looked at the other universe now and our universe and compared them, 40 years on, they would be massively different. Massively. It'd be like people say, oh, you can't go back in time and kill Hitler because billions of people wouldn't have been born. It would be a completely different place. So that's where all these splinters off, all these decisions and splinters off. Yeah. It is crazy, and it's one of them where just getting your head around the number infinite is also crazy.
But I think they're saying with the multi-universe thing, they're saying it's you. So obviously the thought is that your consciousness is one, but it exists in all these universes, and obviously your
Correct.
memories are collected in that universe. But you, because your consciousness is one stream, you can you're bleeding into that consciousness as a memory of a death that did happen in that universe. That's what they're saying, not the fact that and that's where you're remembering it because of your shared consciousness with the you that was in the multiverse where Mandela was supposedly died in the 80s. But for me, that scenario doesn't fit because I'd like to think that if there is multiverses, they're quite different. But then does that fit with the multiverse theory about them being this in every infinite possible? I don't know, man. I'm not the multiverse. Yeah, it's too far out. The multiverse theory.
It could be one of the things where, like, you do, for example, you do enter, because I've spoken to a few people on this, and you can enter a different universe, for example, another parallel universe. You come back, and it's sort of like erased of what you've witnessed, or you've watched or seen. It's erased, and
Who
then
can?
the odd
Who
glitch,
can? Your consciousness or your
your
physical
conscious,
self? What you're referring to?
because yeah, your consciousness, because then it deletes, but then there's a glitch in it, like the lady said that the name, is it Sarah Broom you mentioned before, Andy? Sarah Broom, the name, who did the Mandela.
Fiona.
Fiona Broom. So Fiona Broom. So she said, so then there's a couple of glitches in the matrix that could a few things filter out. It's a bit like pain. It's like when the body experiences so much pain, it shuts down and you don't remember it. You don't remember the pain. Like a childbirth for a lady is meant to be the most horrible thing ever. So why do women have 2, 3, 4, 5 babies? Why? Because they forget about it. They forget about the pain. It's like George Orwell once said, he who controls the past controls the future. So that's why a lot of these people try and use this Mandela effect to control people, but by getting them to do things and then erase their memory. So could this Mandela effect be that when we actually go into a parallel universe, we may even get some information, but then we go back to the world you live in. It's erased, but then a few things just get left there, like a glitch, like a little memory or a little a solution, or a person you spoke to, or all comes in. It's like deja vu. It could fall into that.
That's an interesting thought stream, Carlos.
Yeah, how are we getting into these other parallel universes to get these memories? Or are they just floating across and affecting our brains?
Well, if you speak to it depends on who you speak to. If you speak to Elon Musk, he says it's just a simulation. So there's clearly some creator. But if you speak to, there could be some higher beings where in different dimensions. That's why people say when they want to speak to, this is obviously, all I'm doing is what I'm reading, what people have said. When they speak to extraterrestrial intelligence, they usually go through through DMT, so they can go through different dimensions. Now, I was reading an article or like a book where once you've done DMT too many times, it doesn't work. So what they do is they stop your heart, so your consciousness leaves your body, and then they awaken you maybe 3 or 4 minutes later. That's what they're doing now. So you can communicate through different dimensions.
What? So killing you is like the new drug,
Yes,
and
because
then bring you back.
that's why after the experiences I've had over the last 2 or 3 years, I'm no longer scared of death now. I think there's another journey after death. I believe now. I don't believe we're worm food.
Okay, before we move off this multiverse thing and quantum mechanics, I listened to a podcast a couple of months ago, and there's a guy interviewing a guy who's trying to sell a book, as usual, called Rob.
Why do you have such a thing about that? If you were to spend
I
5 years
don't know.
writing a book, you couldn't then not go on a tour promoting it. Otherwise, nobody would buy the book. But your
I
disdain
know,
for
mate.
everybody that's out there trying to sell a book is
Oh, no, no, no.
unjust
I
and
know.
undue.
The only reason I mentioned it is because I wanted, rather than having to listen to the podcast back again, so I'm going to be doing this from memory. I wanted to Google him and see if his theory was there, so I could just read it. And literally, I couldn't. It was like just links to his. Oh no, it's this book. It was just selling a book. That's the only reason I mentioned it. It's not. It's nothing to do with poo-pooing his idea. But Rob,
Go on.
Rob Shelsky, yeah, he thinks there's a connection between the Mandela effect and the reason why the Mandela effect is recently new. He states it only was first coined by Fiona in about 2010. He sort of like put it down to the fact that around about the same time period, the first quantum computers were being turned on and tested.
Yeah.
And he thinks that basically, the way he explained it is the reason a quantum computer can do calculations so fast is because it's talking to other computers and using other processing power of computers in other dimensions or realities or whatever you want to call it, universes, and then that's why it can come up with the answer so quick. And he thinks that the fact that they started messing around with that in 2009, 2010, they broke something, they weakened some sort of barrier, and then these false memories, whatever you want to call it, these Mandela memories started coming through around the same time. I'm not sure I believe him. I think there probably are cases
like
earlier than 2010
where they talk about CERN setting off a black hole that creates a chain reaction that, and potentially, hypothetically, everything these guys can say is potentially possible, because potentially we live in an infinite number of universes with an infinite number of potential shit that's going to happen.
It's an interesting outlook, though. I like that.
But it's a good thought stream. Why not get it down in a book and try and sell it? Why not?
Yeah, it's very hard. Some stuff like that, it's very hard to disprove, isn't it? He was mentioning. I mean, it was great. What I'll probably do is try and find the link again and share the actual podcast, because he did have some good quotes, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I spoke to this guy and I spoke to that guy," and it's my memory's gone. It was too long ago when I listened to it, so I can't remember.
Science, science a bit.
Have you been drinking, Nick, today? Have you been drinking?
No.
He just does stuff to get in. He says he don't listen to the podcast, but he just does stuff to get into the outtakes at the end. Anyway,
that was for the podcast. What are you on about? That was like a phase. You would phase that into this bit, the science bit.
Have any of you two actually bothered looking at the science? Did you have a look,
memory?
or was it just me? No. I mean, recent. Well, just of what false memories.
About memory from other stuff, like how most of your memories are false and made up, and just a collection of thoughts that you've then replaced the actual events with. I'm totally a believer. I've got the worst. People say they've got bad memories. Everybody says they've got a bad memory. I don't know anybody's got a memory as bad as me.
Nick, do you remember you owe me 200 quid?
No. See, if I don't remember, you're not getting it, Carlos. That's unfortunate. Unless you've got a chit.
Everyone's got a bad memory until they're in court and they, or a car crash or something, and they swear blind that what they're recalling was absolutely perfect. So,
so I know a fair bit. Well, I know a little bit about it in that respect, that you can't rely on them, and that witnesses, public people witnesses are most unreliable, and people can be easily have false memories planted easily. That we are so not subjective, but easily talked into things. I can't remember what the word is.
Do you know, there's an interesting talking about memory. There's a group I remember reading a couple of weeks ago called the Innocent Project, where they go into cases where the cases have been, say, people have been done for murder or such and such a thing, and the Innocent Project have managed to overturn 73% of cases, because due to people's memory. It doesn't like blank things. It'll put something there. So, for example, if I walked into your bedroom and just said, I remember in that bedroom, but I'm sure there was a lamppost there or something in the corner. And
that's what I was looking for before.
Suggestive.
That's
it.
Suggestive. We are easily, we're so suggestive.
You've both touched on stuff I'm about to cover anyway. So yeah, I went off being the skeptic and searching, around why memories and why collective, why would you collectively, it's easy enough for one person to have a mismemory, but why would many people have the same mismemory? So one person I came across was a UCLA PhD in neuroscience called Caitlin Ahmad. So she says memories are organized in the brain so that similar memories are stored in nearby neurons. So when you recall a memory, those cells are able to change their connections, which allows for the addition of new information. But because neurons that are fired together wire together, sometimes false memories can emerge from erroneous connections. So recalling a memory often triggers other memories in the same process, often intertwining various scenarios and people in new ways. Human beings are also vulnerable to confabulation, which is an error or misinterpretation of a memory, but it's not deliberate. It's not a conscious attempt to mislead. You truly believe that memory is true, but you're in error, which goes back to the you're in a court case or a car crash and blah blah blah. You insist you're absolutely 100% right. This occurs when the brain's attempted to fill in the blanks, as you already sort of highlighted that, because you've got incomplete memories. But why would lots of people misremember the same facts? So power of suggestion is one thing. So, you believe what others suggest to be true. This is why lawyers are forbidden from asking witnesses leading questions that suggest a specific answer.
Yeah.
We've all watched those court cases in films. You can also, many people can have the same shared contextual association. So one experiment they did, this is very American, but they asked people to list the early presidents, and there was a guy called Hamilton kept cropping up as a president. There's never been a president called Hamilton. What he was he was one of the founding fathers, and he had something to do with signing the bill and everything, but he never actually became a president. And then obviously because of the recent Hamilton, you've heard of the Hamilton stage show, which has been in New York and around the world, that also triggers a familiar name in the brain. So people put these two memories together and swear blind at Hamilton. There was a president called Hamilton, one of the early presidents. Also, and again, this is probably down to why it's such a recent post 2010 type of thing, is the viral power of the internet, and its ability to magnify human error. So someone mentions, like going back, the power of suggestion, someone mentions, oh, didn't Kit Kat used to have a hyphen in it? That triggers the same memories. People start these memories coming back. They also misremember the same thing, and and then the viral power of the internet just blows it out, and all of a sudden it's a massive thing, like Sex in the City, and rather than Sex in the City, and it just becomes this massive phenomenon basically. So that's the science bit basically.
Yeah, I buy that. That's for me is more viable than any other, and I just think, yeah,
I find it quite interesting that in the court of law, your memory or visuals is probably the most important thing you can bring to a court case. Whereas if you talk about astronomy or UFO sightings, that's the worst thing you can use, because people will say, you saw it? Yeah, I bet you did. Have you got what's your evidence? When the court of law will be, I seen Nick walk into that shop and take that Mars bar from the side. Yep, arrest Nick now.
Stick around for some bloopers and sound bites taken out of context that didn't make the edit for this episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, you watching that thing tonight?
The meteor shower. I want to go outside and look at the stars.
Have you seen any good ones yet?
Not really. They seem the shooting stars. I got 2. I set up a time lapse last night, and I got 2 out of 156 photos, and each photo was exposing for 20 seconds. And when you look at the shooting stars that are caught, they weren't like streaking right across the sky. They were just tiny little blips, tiny little dashes. I'll send you some pictures. So when you see it with the naked eye, it just looks like a flash. It looks like someone's taking a picture from like 2 miles up.
Do you see the CCTV today of the meteorite come down somewhere?
No.
Some really good CCTV recorded from the top of some high flats. Where I can't remember if it was China or Russia or somewhere. But this meteor come flying through the sky and just disappeared over the horizon. I can't remember where I've seen that now. I'll have to go.
Was it in daytime?
Yeah, daytime. Yeah, so it wasn't lighting up the sky either. It just looked like a dark streak going across the sky.
Don't rattle on about shit. Just give me couple of words about other things we might mention along the lines of.
I've got a question. Why the fuck are so many people listening to us talk shit in them links that you posted? And also, how are people listening to the thing longer than we recorded it? Like, we recorded some like 16 minutes and they were listening to like 24 minutes. And then, is that because they pause and they think deeply about what we've said? At the same time, why would anybody want to listen to us for more than... I wouldn't listen to us for more than 5 minutes. I go, these guys are dickheads, I'm off.
Mate, we're fucking changing the world, mate, day by day.
I don't think so. So what kind of weirdos are we attracting? Right, I just want to get it out there, right? Just so you both know for sure. If any of our podcasts were ever to go viral, where the fuck's the cat going? I never want to be connected to them. I never want any of you two to point to them and say, this is the Nick that said that. Ever, right? This is completely anonymous for me, and I will deny it till the day I die.
You paranoid bastard!
Andy knows how I feel about that. You know how I feel about it now.
Oh, Nick's gone to another dimension.
And keep your hashtags for your fucking Facebook.
Take my brain to another dimension. Boom!
None of them are bloopers. Those are private comments for us three, you fuckers.